Have you ever had a moment where you stumbled upon something that shouldn't exist? Something you couldn't explain, but couldn't forget either? That was how it started for me. The day I found the photo album, I hadn't seen it in years, forgotten amongst dusty boxes and forgotten relics of my past. I had always put off going through the attic, convinced there was nothing worth saving. But that afternoon, for some reason, I couldn't resist. The house was eerily silent, the only sound the creaking of the old wooden floor beneath my feet. I began clearing through boxes, picking out the things I could throw away, and things I thought might have some sentimental value. I had just started on a stack of old books when I noticed the album. It wasn't like the others. Its leather cover was cracked, faded with age, its edges worn from time. The gold lettering on the front, which once proudly read, "Memories," now barely showed. I hadn't remembered keeping it. Maybe I had forgotten about it in the chaos of moving. But when I picked it up, I felt a strange pull in my chest, like it had been waiting for me. Without thinking, I opened the album. The pages inside were yellowed, frayed, but the photos within were crystal clear. They captured fragments of my childhood, birthday parties, school pictures, moments that seemed so distant now, as if they had happened to someone else. But then I turned to a photo that stopped me cold. There we were, me and Noah, the boy who had been my best friend through most of my early years. The two of us at the park, smiling, carefree, the sun casting a golden glow over the moment. But as I stared at the picture, something was terribly wrong. His face, Noah's face, was slowly fading, as if someone were deliberately erasing him. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and looked again, but nothing changed. His eyes, his nose, the curve of his lips, they were all beginning to blur, his image dissolving into the background. The more I stared, the worse it became. It was like his face was being swallowed by the paper itself, the colors fading to nothingness. My heart began to race. I slammed the album shut, my hands trembling. I set it aside, trying to brush it off as nothing more than a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination. But the unease lingered. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo again. Noah's face, slowly vanishing, melting into oblivion. I convinced myself it was just stress, that I was overreacting. But the next morning, I went on my usual walk around the neighborhood. I had to clear my head, had to get some fresh air. But as I turned a corner, I froze. There he was, Noah, standing on the other side of the street. His figure was familiar, but something about him wasn't right. His clothes looked old, like he had been wearing the same outfit for years. I called out to him, but he didn't respond. I took a step toward him, but when he turned to face me, my stomach dropped. His face, it was wrong. His eyes were hollow, like someone had carved them out, and his skin was too pale, stretched thin across his bones. His mouth was open, but no words came out. He just stood there, staring at me, his lips pulled into an unnatural smile. My breath caught in my throat. I backed away, my legs shaking, but before I could turn around, he turned away from me and disappeared into the shadows. I stood there, staring at the spot where he had been, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to convince myself it was just a trick of the mind, a coincidence, but it didn't feel like that. The next few days were a blur of confusion and dread. I couldn't stop thinking about Noah. I kept seeing him everywhere, on the corner of my street, in the grocery store, even in the reflection of windows as I passed by. But each time, he was more distorted, more grotesque. His features had become more stretched, his limbs too long, his skin pulled tight like it didn't belong. He seemed to be fading, but in the wrong way, like his body was being stretched into something unnatural. Each time I saw him, I felt a chill creep down my spine. But every time I turned around, he was gone. I couldn't escape him. The fear started to eat away at me. It wasn't just that I was seeing him. It was the way his presence lingered. The feeling that I was being watched, even when I was alone. The sounds, the whispers, the soft scraping, noises that seemed to follow me wherever I went. The fear started to grow, gnawing at me, relentless. I couldn't tell anyone, because how could I explain it? Who would believe me? No one had seen him but me. It was just me, and the haunting of a friend who had once been so close. The breaking point came one night. I woke up to a sound, a scratching, like nails dragging against wood. It was faint at first, but then it grew louder, more insistent. I lay frozen in my bed, staring into the darkness, waiting for it to stop. The noise continued, closer now, like someone, or something, was walking through my house. I couldn't move. Then came the voice. "You forgot me," it whispered, so softly it barely registered in my mind. My blood ran cold. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Slowly, I crept out of bed, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I moved toward the living room, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. And there he was, Noah. But he wasn't Noah anymore. He was a grotesque mockery of him, his body bent at odd angles, his face an empty mask of skin, no features, just a void. His eyes were gone. His mouth was stretched open in a silent scream. I froze, terror rooting me to the spot. "You forgot me," he repeated, his voice an echo, like a memory from a nightmare. His hand reached out, fingers long and unnatural, stretching toward me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Before I could react, he lunged. I fell backward, scrambling to get away. But he was faster. His cold, dead hand grabbed my wrist, and I felt an icy jolt of panic rush through me. My vision blurred, my chest tight with fear. Everything around me began to fade. The room, the walls, the very air. I felt myself slipping away. And then, just as suddenly, I was back in my bed, gasping for breath. But the photo album was on my nightstand, the one I'd thrown away. My hands shook as I opened it, dreading what I would see. The photo of Noah was there, but this time, his face was completely gone. Not a blur, not a fading, just a dark void, a hole where his features had been, a deep, empty space that seemed to suck everything into it. I realized with a sickening jolt that Noah wasn't just disappearing from photos. He was disappearing from my memory, from my life, from reality itself. The more I thought about him, the more he faded. The more I remembered him, the less he existed. It was like I was erasing him, slowly, with each thought. But the worst part? The more I tried to forget him, the more he appeared, more distorted than before. He was haunting me, erasing himself, and dragging me into the same oblivion. I couldn't escape. I couldn't run. Every time I closed my eyes, he was there, waiting, the thing that had once been Noah, twisted and wrong, always just a step behind. I couldn't tell if I was losing my mind or if this was something worse, because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just forgetting him. I was forgetting myself. I was forgetting who I was, where I had been. Everything was starting to blur, starting to fade, and I wasn't sure what would happen when I had forgotten everything? Would I just disappear too? Would anyone remember me? Or would I be swallowed by the void, a forgotten fragment in a world that didn't care anymore? The worst part, I still don't know. All I know is that Noah, or whatever he had become, was still out there, waiting, and I'm not sure I have much time left before I vanish too. Or worse, before no one remembers that I ever existed at all.